The courtroom fell silent, every eye locked on the screen. My sister sat there in her white dress, one hand on her pregnant belly, smiling like she had already won. She had taken my husband. She had taken my home. She had taken my daughter, and she was about to walk free. But then the judge pressed play. What came next made her smile vanish. What came next made her scream. What came next sent her straight to prison. Because that baby bump, she bought it on Amazon for $34.99. My name is Rachel Coleman. I am a wedding photographer from Tennessee. I have seen 800 weddings. I thought I knew everything about love and betrayal. I was wrong. This is the story of how my husband and my sister spent 2 years planning my destruction, how they framed me for crimes I did not commit, how they nearly took everything, and how one cheap security camera I forgot I owned brought them both to their knees. Stay with me until the end. Because the moment that smile disappears, you do not want to miss it. Lesson and value statement. Before we begin, I want you to know something important. This story will teach you 3 things that could save your life someday. First, always back up everything. Your documents, your photos, your receipts. The spouse who controls the records controls the narrative. Second, trust your instincts. When something feels wrong, it usually is. Do not let anyone make you doubt what you see with your own eyes. And third, find your people. The friends who tell you the truth even when it hurts. They are the ones who will catch you when you fall. This is not just entertainment. This is a survival guide disguised as a story. Now, let us begin. Meaning, and there it is, friends. The smile that disappeared. The sister who thought she had won everything. The husband who believed his charm could cover his crimes. They forgot one simple truth. The truth always finds a way out. Sometimes through a text message on a car dashboard. Sometimes through a security camera no one remembered. Sometimes through the quiet strength of a woman everyone underestimated. Rachel lost her husband, but she gained something more valuable. Her freedom, her daughter, her self-respect. The biggest lesson from this story? Never let anyone convince you that your life is worth $34.99. Your life is priceless. Your story matters. Your fight is worth fighting. The courtroom was so silent, you could hear the air conditioning humming through the vents. On one side sat my baby sister, wearing white like she was the Virgin Mary herself. Her hand was resting on her belly. A belly I would later learn she bought on Amazon for $34.99. She was smiling at me. No, she was smiling through me, like I was already erased from existence, like I was a ghost haunting my own life. I want you to remember that smile, because by the end of this story, you are going to watch it disappear. My name is Rachel Coleman. I am a wedding photographer from Knoxville, Tennessee. I have shot 847 weddings in 15 years. I have seen brides cry tears of joy, grooms faint at the altar, and mothers-in-law throw actual punches at the reception. I thought I had seen everything this world had to offer. I was wrong. This is the story of how my husband and my sister tried to destroy me, how they framed me for crimes I did not commit, how they took my home, my business, my reputation, and nearly took my daughter, and how a cheap security camera I forgot I even owned became the weapon that brought them both to their knees. But I am getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where it all began. A Sunday dinner, a pot roast, and a little girl who noticed something her mother was too trusting to see. It was a rainy Sunday in October when my life started to unravel. I had been cooking since 6 in the morning. Pot roast with carrots and potatoes, my grandmother's recipe. The house smelled like home, like safety, like everything I had spent 12 years building with a man I thought loved me. Marcus came downstairs in his Sunday best, checking his phone like he always did. He was the branch manager at First Regional Credit Union, and he never really stopped working. At least, that is what I told myself every time he was glued to that screen. Our daughter Emma was setting the table. She was 11 years old, quiet and artistic, with my eyes and her father's stubborn chin. She had spent the morning drawing in her sketchbook, something she did whenever she felt anxious. I should have asked her what was bothering her. I should have paid more attention. My sister Ashley arrived late, as usual. She breezed through the front door without knocking, wearing a designer dress that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. Ashley was 29, a real estate agent, and everything I was not. Glamorous, confident, the kind of woman who turned heads when she walked into a room. She was also my half-sister. Same father, different mothers. Our relationship had always been complicated. Her mother had been the other woman before she became the second wife. I tried not to hold that against Ashley. She was just a child when it all happened. Donna from next door had dropped off a casserole earlier that morning. She was always doing things like that, making too much food and sharing it with me. Checking in to see how I was doing. Donna Martinez was 55, divorced twice, and the most honest person I had ever met. She did not trust any man further than she could throw him, and she had the life experience to back up that suspicion. At dinner, Ashley sat across from Marcus. I noticed how she touched his arm when she asked him to pass the salt, how her fingers lingered just a moment too long, how Marcus complimented her dress but had not said a single word about my new haircut. I told myself it was nothing. I was always telling myself things were nothing. Emma leaned over and whispered in my ear. Her voice was so quiet, I almost missed it. She said, "Mama, Aunt Ashley smells like Daddy's car." I froze with my fork halfway to my mouth. I looked at my daughter, then at Ashley, then at Marcus. He was laughing at something Ashley had said, his phone forgotten for once. I told myself it was nothing, just Emma's imagination, just coincidence. That is the thing about red flags. They look pink when you are wearing rose-colored glasses. 3 days later, I was driving Marcus home from a Chamber of Commerce event. I had shot a wedding that morning and worked the booth all evening. My feet hurt. My back ached. I just wanted to get home, take a hot bath, and collapse into bed. Marcus was in the passenger seat, scrolling through his phone. He had been distant all evening, distracted. I assumed it was work stress. There was always work stress. The car's infotainment system was connected to his phone through Bluetooth. Usually Marcus was careful about that. He was paranoid about his privacy. But that night, maybe because he was tired, maybe because he had a few drinks at the event, he forgot to disconnect. The music cut out. A text message notification popped up on the dashboard screen. The sender was listed as Ashley. The message was 12 words that changed everything. "Did you tell her yet? I am ovulating this weekend. TikTok daddy." My foot lifted off the gas pedal. The car slowed. The rain hammered against the windshield, and for a moment, that was the only sound in the world. I said, "Why is Ashley texting you about ovulating?" Marcus lunged for the dashboard. His composure cracked for just a second. He tapped the dismiss button frantically, but it was too late. The words were already burned into my brain. He said, "It is nothing. Office banter. Ashley has a weird sense of humor." I said, "Ashley calls you daddy as office banter?" I pulled into a Walgreens parking lot. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel. The windshield wipers squeaked back and forth, like a heartbeat counting down to something terrible. Marcus sighed. The charm vanished from his face. In its place was something I had never seen before: boredom, annoyance, like I was a problem he had been putting off dealing with. He said, "Fine. You want the truth? Here's the truth. I have been seeing Ashley for 2 years. We are in love, real love. Not whatever this is. I could not breathe. The air had been sucked out of the car. I said, 2 years? She was at our anniversary dinner 2 years ago. She gave a toast about how lucky I was to have you. Marcus shrugged. He actually shrugged. He said, that was our anniversary too. Of sorts. The cruelty of it took my breath away. 2 years. 730 days of lies. Of dinners where they sat across from each other, laughing at private jokes I did not understand. Of holidays where Ashley hugged me and told me she loved me while sleeping with my husband. I asked the only question that mattered. I said, does Emma know? Marcus waved his hand dismissively. He said, Emma will be fine. Kids are resilient. Ashley is going to be a great stepmom. She is younger, more energetic. She will be better for Emma than you ever were. Something inside me cracked. Not broke, not yet, but cracked. I said, you said she is ovulating. Is she pregnant? Marcus smiled. It was not a nice smile. He said, we are trying. Ashley wants a fresh start. New house, new family. She has her eye on that new development in Hardin Valley. I have already talked to the mortgage guy. I said, with what money? We have a mortgage. We have Emma's college fund. Marcus checked his watch like he had somewhere better to be. He said, about that, you should probably talk to a lawyer. He opened the car door and stepped out into the rain. He said, I will get an Uber home. The home that is about to be mine, by the way. You might want to start looking for an apartment. He walked away into the darkness, and I sat there in that Walgreens parking lot, watching the rain streak down my windshield like tears. I did not know it then, but that was the last time I would ever be inside my own home. The next 5 days passed in a blur of sleepless nights and endless phone calls. I did not know what to do. I did not know who to call. Marcus was acting like nothing had happened, coming home late, leaving early, barely looking at me. I tried to talk to Ashley. I called her 17 times. She never answered. I thought about telling someone, Donna, Pastor Whitfield at church, anyone, but I was ashamed that my husband preferred my sister, ashamed that I had been blind for 2 years, ashamed of what people would think. So I stayed quiet. I waited. I told myself that maybe I had misunderstood. Maybe there was an explanation. Here is something I wish someone had told me. When your kid notices something about your spouse that you missed, pay attention. Children do not have filters. They just report what they see. I should have listened to Emma. I should have listened to that whisper about Aunt Ashley smelling like Daddy's car. But I was so desperate to believe my life was not falling apart that I ignored the one person who was telling me the truth. On Sunday after church, Marcus called a family meeting. He said it was important. He said we needed to discuss things like adults. I actually felt hopeful. Maybe he had come to his senses. Maybe he wanted to work things out. Maybe the last 12 years meant something to him after all. I walked into my living room and found 4 people waiting for me. Marcus was sitting on the couch, looking calm and composed in his best suit. Ashley was next to him, wearing a white dress that made her look innocent and pure. Her hand was resting on her stomach. There was a small curve there, a baby bump. My father, Harold Brooks, was sitting in the armchair by the window. He was 68 years old, and he would not meet my eyes. The 4th person was a man I did not recognize. Tall, gray-haired, expensive suit. Marcus stood up and smiled at me like we were at a business meeting. He said, Rachel, thank you for joining us. This is Garrett Finch. He is my attorney. I looked at my father. I said, Dad, what is going on? Harold still would not look at me. He stared at the carpet like it was the most interesting thing he had ever seen. Garrett Finch stepped forward and handed me a stack of papers. He said, Mrs. Coleman, you are being served with divorce papers. Additionally, you are being notified of a forensic audit into your business, Forever Frames Photography. due to suspected embezzlement of marital assets. The word hit me like a physical blow. Embezzlement. I said, embezzlement? Of my own business? Garrett's voice was flat and professional. He said, the business was funded with marital assets. My client alleges you have been hiding income and diverting funds for years, I laughed. It was a hysterical sound. I said, I have been hiding income? I work 60-hour weeks. I do everything. The books, the shoots, the editing. Marcus does our taxes. He handles all the finances. He is a banker, for God's sake. Ashley spoke up then. Her voice was soft and concerned, like she was talking to a mental patient. She said, Rachel, I know this is hard, but we have to think about what is best for everyone, including your daughter and my baby. I stared at her belly. I said, you are not pregnant. You cannot be pregnant. You told me last year you had an IUD. Ashley's eyes filled with tears. Perfect, photogenic tears. She said, God had other plans. I know you are angry, but please do not take it out on an innocent child. I turned to my father. I said, Dad, look at me. You cannot believe this. You know me. You have known me my whole life. Harold finally looked up. His eyes were sad but resolved. He said, Pumpkin, I have seen the bank statements. Marcus showed me. You have been taking money out of the business account for years, large amounts. Unexplained withdrawals. I did not raise you to be a thief. I felt the floor tilt beneath me. I said, those are normal business expenses. Equipment, software, travel to weddings. I photographed your retirement party for free. I have given everything to this family, and now you are sitting here accusing me of stealing? Ashley dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. She said, we have also heard about your mental health struggles, Rachel. The anxiety, the mood swings. Marcus says you have been increasingly erratic. Paranoid. We are worried about you. We are worried about Emma. I said, paranoid? My husband is sleeping with my sister, and you are calling me paranoid? Marcus shook his head sadly. He said, see, this is what I am talking about. These delusions. Ashley and I have only been together for 6 months, and already Rachel is claiming it has been years. She needs help, not accusations. 6 months. He was lying to my father's face. I said, you said 2 years, in the car. You said you have been seeing Ashley for 2 years. Marcus looked at Garrett. He said, she is confused, probably the stress. Garrett, please continue. Garrett cleared his throat. He said, Mrs. Coleman, given the allegations of financial misconduct and concerns about your mental stability, my client is seeking emergency custody of your daughter, Emma, exclusive use of the marital residence, and freezing of all joint assets pending investigation. The room started spinning. I said, you cannot take Emma. You cannot take my daughter. Ashley stood up and walked toward me. She put her hand on my arm like we were still sisters, like she had not just destroyed my entire life. She leaned in close. Her whisper was so quiet that only I could hear it. She said, I already have. Then she stepped back and she winked at me. Just once. A quick flutter of her eyelid. My father did not see it. Marcus did not see it, but I saw it. That wink said everything. It said, I win. It said, there is nothing you can do. It said, this was the plan all along. My knees buckled. Donna's casserole dish, the one I had been holding since I walked in, slipped from my fingers and shattered on the hardwood floor. My father said, see, she is falling apart. She needs professional help. Marcus said, I will call Emma down. She should know what is happening. I said, no, do not bring Emma into this. But Marcus was already calling up the stairs. He said, Emma, sweetheart, come down here, please. Your mother and I need to talk to you. My 11-year-old daughter came down the stairs. She saw the broken dish. She saw me standing there, with tears streaming down my face. She saw Ashley's hand on her belly. She saw her grandfather refusing to look at anyone. Emma said, "Mom, what is going on?" Marcus knelt down to her level. His voice was gentle and fatherly. He said, "Sweetheart, Mommy and Daddy are going to live in different houses for a while. Mommy needs some time to work on herself. But do not worry. Aunt Ashley is going to help take care of you." Emma looked at me. Her eyes were wide and scared. She said, "Mom?" I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab her and run. But Garrett Finch was already pulling out more papers. He said, "Mrs. Coleman, if you attempt to remove Emma from this residence without authorization, you will be in violation of the emergency custody order. I would strongly advise against that." Ashley smiled at Emma. She said, "Do not worry, sweetheart. I am going to be like a second mom to you. We are going to have so much fun together." Emma did not smile back. She was looking at me like she was waiting for me to fix this, to make it all better, to tell her it was just a bad dream. But I could not fix it. I could not make it better. I could not even speak. Garrett Finch looked at his watch. He said, "Mrs. Coleman, you have 1 hour to collect your personal belongings and vacate the premises. I would suggest you use that time wisely." I packed what I could carry into 2 garbage bags: clothes, toiletries, the photo album from my wedding, the necklace my mother gave me before she died. Emma watched from her bedroom doorway. She would not come close. She would not hug me goodbye. She just stood there, clutching her sketchbook to her chest, watching her mother be thrown out of her own home. I said, "Baby, I am going to fix this. I promise you. This is all a mistake, and I am going to fix it." Emma did not say anything. She just nodded, that small, trusting nod she always gave me when I promised her something. Ashley appeared behind her. She said, "Say goodbye to your mother, Emma." "She has to go now," Emma whispered. "Bye, Mom." Those 2 words broke something inside me that I did not know could break. I walked out the front door of the house I had lived in for 10 years, the house I had decorated room by room, the house where I had brought my newborn daughter home from the hospital, the house where I had built a life that turned out to be a lie. Marcus was standing by the mailbox, already on his phone. He did not look up as I passed. I got in my Honda CR-V and drove. I did not know where I was going. I just drove. Through the neighborhoods I had photographed 100 weddings in, past the church where I had worshipped every Sunday, past the strip mall where my studio was, my studio. Forever Frames Photography, 15 years of my life, 847 weddings, then countless hours of editing, marketing, building something from nothing. I wondered how long it would take them to take that from me, too. I ended up in the Walmart parking lot. I do not know why. Maybe because it was big and anonymous, and no one would notice a woman crying in her car. Maybe because it was the only place I could think of that was open on a Sunday night. I sat there for 3 hours. I cried until I could not cry anymore. Then I just stared at the shopping carts rolling past my window, wondering how my life had fallen apart so completely in less than a week. My phone buzzed. A text message. It was from Donna. It said, "Get your butt over here. I have got wine and a spare room. We are going to figure this out." I do not know how Donna knew. Maybe she saw me leave. Maybe Marcus called to gloat. Maybe she just had that 6th sense that good friends develop when someone they love is in trouble. I drove to her house. It was only 2 blocks from mine, but it felt like another planet. A safe planet. Donna was waiting on her porch. When I got out of the car with my garbage bags, she did not say anything. She just hugged me. She held on tight while I sobbed into her shoulder, her cats winding between our legs. Finally, she pulled back and looked at me. She said, "Okay, let me get this straight. Your husband is screwing your sister. Your sister is fake pregnant. Your daddy sided with them. And you have got $43 to your name. I said, that about covers it. Donna nodded. She said, girl, you need a lawyer, a drink, and a therapist. In that order. Lucky for you, I know all three. That night, I sat in Donna's cluttered living room, surrounded by cat hair and wine bottles, and the smell of her famous casserole. It was the opposite of my Pinterest perfect house. It was messy and real and human. She said, so the baby bump. You really think it is fake? I said, Ashley told me last year she got an IUD because she never wanted kids. Said they would ruin her figure. Her words, not mine. Donna snorted. She said, and now she is suddenly pregnant with your husband's baby? Please, that girl is faker than a $3 bill. Her cat, Mr. Whiskers, jumped onto the coffee table and knocked over a candle. Donna grabbed it before it fell. She said, Mr. Whiskers, I swear, you have been a menace since my second divorce. I think you absorbed Gary's negative energy. Despite everything, I almost laughed. I said, you named your cat Mr. Whiskers? She said, Gary named him. I kept the cat. Better company, less lying. She poured me another glass of wine. She said, look, Rachel, I am going to be honest with you because that is what friends do. You are too nice. You have always been too nice. You let people walk all over you because you are afraid of being difficult. Well, honey, it is time to get difficult. I stared at the wine in my glass. I said, how do I even fight this? They have everything. The money, the house, the custody order. I have 2 garbage bags of clothes and a car with 87,000 miles on it. Donna leaned forward. She said, do you remember what you told me when I was going through my second divorce? When Gary had taken everything and I was ready to give up? I shook my head. She said, you said, Donna, you are stronger than you know. You just have to find the part of you that refuses to break. I did not remember saying that. It felt like something a different person had said in a different lifetime. Donna picked up her phone. She said, I am calling my lawyer. Her name is Claire Patterson. She works at Legal Aid now, but she used to be a shark at a fancy firm downtown. She quit because she got tired of helping rich men screw over their wives. Now she does the opposite. She dialed and put it on speaker. A tired voice answered. Claire said, Donna, it is 9 p.m. Someone better be dead. Donna said, worse. My neighbor's husband is pulling a full Lifetime movie. Frozen accounts, changed locks, pregnant mistress. Claire said, the mistress is pregnant. Donna said, allegedly. Rachel thinks it is fake. There was a pause. Claire said, I am intrigued. I will see her tomorrow, pro bono consultation. But, Donna, you owe me that casserole recipe. Donna hung up and looked at me. She said, first step, get a lawyer. Second step, figure out what they are afraid of. Because, Rachel, if they are going to this much trouble to destroy you, it means you have something they want. We just need to figure out what it is. I thought about Marcus's face when I asked about the money, the flicker of something in his eyes. I said, he said I should talk to a lawyer about the finances, like he knew something was coming. Donna nodded slowly. She said, there it is. Follow the money, Rachel. It always leads somewhere interesting. That night, I slept in Donna's guest room. It was small and smelled like cat litter, but it was safe. I was safe. Before I fell asleep, I checked my bank account on my phone. Every account was frozen. Checking, savings, even Emma's college fund. 12 years of marriage, and I had $43.17 in my wallet. Ladies, listen to me. Always have a separate bank account your spouse does not know about. Even if it is just $50 a month, they call it a freedom fund for a reason. I did not have one. Do not be like me. I closed my eyes and prayed for the first time in years. I said, God, if you are listening, please help me. I do not know how to fight this. I do not know how to win, but I cannot lose my daughter. Please, please help me find a way. I did not know it then, but God was about to answer that prayer in the strangest way possible. Through a cheap security camera I had forgotten I even owned. Claire Patterson's office was not what I expected. I had imagined a shark in a power suit, surrounded by legal books and expensive artwork. Instead, I found a tired woman in her mid-40s, sitting behind a desk, covered in stacks of files, with a dying plant in the corner. Claire said, "So let me make sure I understand this. Your husband is a branch manager at First Regional Credit Union. He has been having an affair with your half-sister for 2 years. They are claiming it has only been 6 months. They are alleging that you embezzled $200,000 from your own photography business, and they have emergency custody of your 11-year-old daughter." I said, "That is correct." She said, "And you have no money, no access to any accounts, and you are living with your neighbor because they changed the locks on your house." I said, "Also correct." Claire leaned back in her chair. She said, "I am going to be honest with you, Rachel. This is bad. Really bad. Your husband has been planning this for months, maybe years. He has got a paper trail that makes you look like a financial criminal." I said, "But I did not do anything. I have never stolen a dime in my life." She said, "I believe you. But belief does not win cases. Evidence does. The embezzlement claim, he is alleging you moved $200,000 out of your business over 5 years." I said, "That is my operating costs. Equipment, software, travel to weddings, editing services. I run a business. Businesses have expenses." Claire nodded. She said, "Do you have receipts, bank statements, tax returns?" I hesitated. I said, "I let Marcus handle the finances. He said it was easier if one person did it. He is a banker. I trusted him." Claire's expression said everything. She said, "Classic move. Let me guess. He also did your business taxes?" I said, "Yes." She said, "So he has been cooking your books for years, and now he is using his own cooking against you. It is elegant. I will give him that, the evil, but elegant." I felt sick. I said, "So there is nothing I can do?" Claire tapped her pen against her desk. She said, "I did not say that. I asked about receipts and bank statements. Is there anything you have that he does not know about? Anything at all?" I thought about it. My whole life was an open book. Marcus knew everything, my passwords, my accounts, my daily schedule. Then I remembered something. I said, "I back up all my photos, every wedding I have ever shot. I am paranoid about losing client files. My mother died in a house fire when I was 16. I lost everything. Photos, documents, memories. After that, I became obsessive about backing things up." Claire leaned forward. She said, "Where are these backups?" I said, 3 different cloud services: Google Drive, Dropbox, and iCloud, plus a hard drive at my studio. She said, "Can Marcus access these accounts?" I said no. I use different passwords for everything. Different email addresses, too. I know it sounds paranoid, but after my mom's fire, I just could not stand the thought of losing everything again. Claire was actually smiling now. She said, "Rachel, your paranoia might be the only thing that saves you." She stood up and walked to her window. She said, "Here is what we are going to do. First, we need to establish the timeline of the affair. You say 2 years, they say 6 months. If we can prove they are lying about that, it damages their credibility on everything else." I said, "How do we prove it?" She said, "You said you photograph events, weddings, parties, corporate gatherings. Were Marcus and Ashley ever at the same events?" I thought back through the years. I said, The church picnic last August, my cousin's baby shower in March, the Chamber of Commerce gala, where I found out about the affair. They were at all of them. Claire said, "And you have photos from all of these events?" I said, "I photograph everything. It is what I do." She said, "Then we need to go through those photos. Look for anything that shows them together." Metadata can tell us exactly when and where a photo was taken. If we can find evidence of them being intimate 18 months ago, it proves Marcus committed perjury in his initial filing. I felt a tiny spark of hope for the first time in days. I said, "There is something else." Ashley was at my cousin's baby shower in March. That was 7 months ago. If she is supposedly 5 months pregnant now... Claire's eyes widened. She said, "Then she would have been drinking while pregnant. Or she was not pregnant at all." I said, "She was definitely drinking. I remember because she made a toast. She had champagne." Claire sat back down. She said, "Get me those photos. And Rachel, do not tell anyone what we are doing. Not Donna, not your pastor, no one. If Marcus finds out we are building a case, he will find a way to destroy it." I nodded. She said, "One more thing. You said Marcus handles all the finances. Does he have access to your cloud accounts?" I said, "No. I use different passwords." She said, "Then he does not know about the backups. That is our advantage. He thinks he controls all the evidence. He does not know you have a copy of everything. Find your Donna. Every woman needs a friend who will tell her the truth even when it hurts. If you do not have a Donna, be a Donna for someone else. That is how you find your people." I left Claire's office, feeling something I had not felt since that night in the Walgreens parking lot. Hope. It was small and fragile, like a candle flame in a hurricane, but it was there. I spent the next 3 days in the public library, going through my cloud backups, thousands of photos, hundreds of events, years of memories. And there it was, a photo from the church picnic last August. It was a group shot, everyone gathered around the barbecue. In the background, almost out of frame, Marcus and Ashley were standing together. His hand was on the small of her back. Her head was tilted toward his shoulder. The metadata said August 14th, 18 months before he claimed the affair started. I found another one from my cousin's baby shower. Ashley holding a glass of champagne, laughing at something Marcus had whispered in her ear. March 20th. 7 months ago. If Ashley was 5 months pregnant, she would have been 2 months pregnant in March. Drinking champagne while 2 months pregnant. Or she was not pregnant at all. I called Claire. I said, "I found it. I found everything." She said, "Bring it to my office tomorrow morning." And Rachel, good work. I hung up and stared at my laptop screen, at the photo of my husband and my sister, so comfortable together, so obviously in love, while I stood 15 feet away taking pictures of other people's happiness. I had been blind for so long, but now I could see, and what I saw was going to destroy them both. The morning of Emma's school talent show, I woke up feeling almost normal. Claire had filed motions challenging the custody order. We had evidence of the affair timeline. Things were moving in the right direction. Donna lent me a nice dress. I did my hair for the first time in weeks. I was going to watch my daughter sing, and nothing was going to stop me. The auditorium was packed with parents. I sat in the back row to avoid Marcus and Ashley, who were front and center, like they were the proud parents of the year. Emma came out on stage in a blue dress she had picked out herself. She looked so small under those bright lights, so brave. She stepped up to the microphone. She said, "This song is for my mom." My heart cracked open. The music started, and Emma began to sing. "You've Got a Friend" by Carole King. Her voice was thin and nervous at first, then stronger, then beautiful. When you're down and troubled, and you need a helping hand, and nothing is going right. I was crying. I could not help it. My baby girl, standing up there, singing to me, telling me in the only way she could that she still loved me, that she still believed in me. Then the doors at the back of the auditorium opened. 2 police officers walked in. They moved down the aisle with purpose, their eyes scanning the crowd. Everyone turned to look. Emma's voice faltered. The officers stopped at my row. One of them spoke. He said, "Rachel Coleman, you are under arrest for grand theft and embezzlement. Please stand up and put your hands behind your back." The entire auditorium went silent. 400 people staring at me. 400 people watching me be handcuffed in front of my daughter. I said, "What? No? My daughter is performing. You cannot do this now," the officer said. "Ma'am, please do not make a scene." On stage, Emma had stopped singing. The music kept playing, but she was frozen, staring at me with those wide, terrified eyes. Marcus turned around in his seat. His face was arranged in perfect concern, but his eyes were gleaming with triumph. Ashley turned around too. Her hand was on her belly, her expression sad and sympathetic. She winked at me, just like before, just like in my living room. That quick flutter of her eyelid that said, "I win." The officers led me up the aisle. Every parent I had ever photographed was watching. Every family whose wedding I had captured, whose children's birthdays I had documented, whose happiest moments I had preserved. Now, they would all remember this moment. The moment Rachel Coleman was arrested for embezzlement in front of her crying daughter. If you are ever arrested, say nothing except, "I want a lawyer." Not, "I did not do it." Not, "This is a mistake." Nothing. Everything you say can and will be used against you. I learned this the hard way. The booking process took 6 hours. Fingerprints, mugshot, the humiliation of being photographed like a criminal when I had spent my life photographing joy. Claire came as soon as Donna called her. Claire said, "This is retaliation. They found out we filed motions, and they accelerated their timeline. The charges are based on the same cooked books Marcus created. It is paper thin, but it does not matter. The arrest itself is the damage." I said, "Can they do this?" She said, "They already did. Bail hearing is tomorrow morning. Donna is putting up her house as collateral." I said, "Donna cannot risk her house for me," Claire said. "She already offered." She said, and I quote, "Tell Rachel to shut up and let me help. That is what friends do." The bail hearing was quick. $10,000 bond. Donna signed the papers without hesitation. When I walked out of the courthouse, she was waiting for me. She said, "Well, that was dramatic." I said, "Donna, if I lose this case, you could lose your house." She said, "Then we better not lose." 2 days later, there was a knock on Donna's door. A woman in a gray suit stood on the porch, holding a clipboard. She said, "Rachel Coleman? I am Linda Crawford from Child Protective Services. We have received a report of child endangerment." I felt the floor drop out from under me. I said, "Child endangerment? I have not even seen my daughter in a week." Linda said, "The report alleges that your daughter Emma disclosed to her school counselor that you have been drinking excessively and driving with her in the car while intoxicated." I said, "That is a lie. I barely drink. Ask anyone at my church." Linda said, "We have also received documentation of your recent arrest. Until our investigation is complete, I am afraid we have to recommend supervised visitation only." When she left, I collapsed onto Donna's couch. I said, "What else can they take from me? They took my husband. They took my money. They took my house. Now they are taking my daughter. What is left?" Donna sat down next to me. She said, "Your fight. That is what is left. And they are never going to take that. unless you let them. The next morning, I drove to my studio to retrieve my backup hard drives, the physical copies of everything I had been building my case with. I found sheriff's deputies loading my equipment into a truck. I said, "Stop. Those are my cameras. Those are client files." The deputy said, "Ma'am, we have a court order. All business assets are being seized pending the fraud investigation." I watched them load 15 years of my life into that truck. My cameras, my computers, my editing equipment, all of it, gone. Then I saw Ashley's white BMW pull up. She got out with a man in a suit. She said, "Hi, Rachel. This is Brad Morrison, my colleague from Keller Williams. He is going to be listing this space. I thought it would be perfect for a juice bar." I stared at her. I said, "You are turning my studio into a juice bar?" She said, "It is called Fresh Start Smoothies." Cute, right? Marcus and I are investors. She rubbed her belly. She said, "I will make sure to save you a loyalty card." She winked at me again. That same wink. That same smile. I stood there in the parking lot and watched my sister drive away in her white BMW carrying my husband's baby that did not exist, planning to build her fresh start on the ashes of everything I had created. That night, I could not sleep. I could not eat. I could not do anything except stare at the ceiling and wonder how much more I could lose before there was nothing left. The answer, it turned out, was everything. The days blurred together. I stopped eating regular meals. I stopped sleeping through the night. I spent every waking moment in the public library going through my cloud backups, building a case that felt more hopeless with each passing day. Claire called me one morning with news. She said, "Rachel, I contacted Marcus's lawyer. I showed them a preview of what we have, the photos, the metadata, the evidence of the affair timeline." I said, "What did they say?" She said, "They want to settle. 50-50 custody. You keep the business name. They drop the embezzlement charges." I started crying. I could not help it. I said, "Really? It is over?" She said, "They want to meet tomorrow to finalize. I would recommend we take it. Trials are expensive, and with your arrest record now, a jury might not be sympathetic." I hung up and called Donna. I said, "They want to settle. I get Emma back. Half custody." Donna was quiet for a moment. She said, "That sounds too easy," I said. "Maybe they realize they cannot win," she said, "or maybe they are setting another trap." I did not listen. I was too desperate, too tired, too ready for this nightmare to be over. The settlement meeting was at Marcus's lawyer's office. Garrett Finch sat at the head of the table looking smug. Marcus sat across from me, avoiding my eyes. Ashley was not there. Garrett said she was feeling unwell, morning sickness. Garrett slid a stack of papers across the table. He said, "Mrs. Coleman, this agreement provides for joint custody of Emma with alternating weeks. You will retain the business name Forever Frames Photography. All criminal charges will be dropped. In exchange, you agree not to pursue any civil action against Mr. Coleman or Miss Brooks." Claire was reading through the document. I watched her face. She looked cautious, but hopeful. Marcus finally looked at me. He said, "Rachel, I just want to say this got out of hand. Ashley can be intense. I think we can all agree that Emma's well-being is what matters most." I almost believed him. I almost believed that somewhere underneath the cruelty and the lies, there was still the man I had married, the man I had loved. Claire nodded at me. She said, "The terms are fair. I think we should sign." I picked up the pen. Then something made me flip to the last pages. Page 47. There was a clause buried in the legal language. It said, "All cloud storage accounts related to the business will be transferred to Marcus Coleman as part of the asset division." I put down the pen. I said, "Why do you need my cloud accounts?" Marcus's expression flickered. He said, "For the business records. Tax purposes." I said, "But the business is mine." "You just said I am keeping it," he said. "It is standard language." "Just sign, Rachel. Let us be done with this." I looked at Claire. She was reading the clause now, her eyes narrowing. I said, "No." Marcus said, "What?" I said, "You want my cloud accounts because you know what is on them. You know I have proof of your affair. You know I have proof Ashley is not pregnant. That is what this whole thing has been about. You are not trying to win. You are trying to make sure I can never prove what you did." Marcus's mask slipped. The charming, reasonable ex-husband vanished. In his place was the cold, calculating man I had glimpsed in the Walgreens parking lot. He said, "Sign the paper, Rachel." I said, "Or what?" He leaned across the table. He said, "Or I will make sure you never see Emma again. I have the CPS report. I have the arrest record. I have your father ready to testify that you have been unstable since your mother died. Do not test me." I stood up. I said, "I will see you in court." I walked out of that office with my head held high, but inside, I was terrified. I had just turned down the only offer I was going to get. I had just gambled everything on a trial I might not win. Always read every page of any document before you sign, especially the pages your ex-spouse wants you to skip. That is where they hide the traps. 2 weeks before the trial, I got a call from an unexpected source. Tommy Reed, the deputy who had served me the papers, the one who had given me 20 minutes instead of 15 to pack my bags. He said, "Rachel, I need to talk to you in person. Can you meet me at the diner on Kingston Pike?" I met him the next morning. He was sitting in a back booth, looking nervous. He said, "I cannot prove anything about the fraud, but I can testify about what Marcus said to me at the bar last month." I said, "What did he say?" Tommy looked around to make sure no one was listening. He said, "He was drunk, bragging. Said Rachel is going to learn what happens when you do not know your place. Said Ashley had the whole thing planned from their first date. He laughed about the baby bump. Said he ordered it while you were cooking dinner." My heart was pounding. I said, "Tommy, are you willing to say this under oath?" He nodded. He said, "My grandmother always said the truth has a way of coming out. I would rather be on the right side when it does." I drove straight to Claire's office. I said, "We have a witness, Tommy Reed." He heard Marcus admit everything. The conspiracy, the fake pregnancy, all of it. Claire's eyes lit up. She said, "That is premeditation. That is conspiracy. With his testimony and your photos, we have them." For the first time in months, I felt like I might actually win. The night before the trial, I slept peacefully. I dreamed of Emma, of holding her again, of starting over. My phone buzzed at 6 in the morning. A text message. It was from Tommy. It said, "I am sorry, Rachel. I cannot testify. Marcus knows about my gambling debts. He will ruin me. I have kids. I am sorry." I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I called Claire. I said, "He got to Tommy. Tommy is not coming." There was a long silence. She said, "Then we have nothing but photos and metadata. It might not be enough." I hung up and sat on the edge of Donna's guest bed. I had been so close to winning, and now I had nothing. Donna knocked on the door. She said, "Rachel, it is time to go." I stood up. I put on my black suit. I looked at myself in the mirror. I looked like a ghost. Knox County Chancery Court was an imposing stone building that had seen 100 years of divorces, custody battles, and broken dreams. I walked up the steps feeling like I was walking to my own execution. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. dark wood paneling, fluorescent lights, a judge's bench that looked like a throne. The American flag hung limply in the corner. Marcus and Ashley were already seated at the plaintiff's table. Ashley was wearing white again, her hand resting on her belly. She looked like an angel. I sat down at the defendant's table with Claire. My hands were shaking so badly I had to hold them in my lap. Ashley leaned over as I passed. She whispered, "Love the suit, sis. Does it come in homeless?" I kept walking. I had learned not to react. Judge William Hartford entered. He was in his 60s, silver-haired, with the weary expression of a man who had seen too many families tear themselves apart. He said, "We are here for the matter of Coleman versus Coleman. Mr. Finch, please proceed with your opening statement." Garrett Finch stood up and buttoned his jacket. He said, "Your Honor, this is a simple case of a woman who could not accept that her marriage was over. Rachel Coleman has been systematically embezzling from her own business for years. When my client discovered the theft, she became violent and unstable. We are seeking full custody of the minor child Emma Coleman, as well as control of all marital assets to prevent further financial misconduct." Claire stood up. She said, "Your Honor, this case is not about embezzlement. It is about a man who conspired with his mistress to destroy his wife. We will present evidence that Mr. Coleman has been cooking his wife's books for years, creating false paper trails to support false charges. We will present evidence that the pregnancy claimed by Ms. Ashley Brooks is fraudulent." Garrett scoffed. He said, "Fraudulent, Ms. Brooks has medical documentation." Claire said, "Documentation that can be fabricated. Unlike photographs with metadata." Judge Hartford held up his hand. He said, "Counselors, save it for your witnesses. Mr. Finch, call your first witness." The next 3 hours were a nightmare. Marcus took the stand and painted a picture of a wife who had always been unstable, jealous, prone to financial irresponsibility. He said, "I tried to help Rachel. I tried to manage the finances to protect her from herself. But she kept taking money, hiding it. When I confronted her, she became violent. I feared for our daughter's safety." Garrett showed documents, bank statements with highlighted withdrawals, tax returns with suspicious deductions, a paper trail that made me look like a thief. It was all lies, but it looked so real. Then Ashley took the stand. She walked to the witness box like she was walking a red carpet. Her white dress flowed around her. Her hand never left her belly. Garrett said, "Miss Brooks, please tell the court about your relationship with Mr. Coleman." Ashley dabbed her eyes with a tissue. She said, "Marcus and I fell in love 6 months ago. I know it was wrong. He was still married. But sometimes the heart wants what it wants. When I found out I was pregnant, we knew we had to be honest." She looked at me with those sad, sympathetic eyes. She said, "I never wanted to hurt Rachel. She is my sister, but she has been spiraling for months. The paranoia, the accusations. She even threatened to hurt my baby." Garrett said, "How did that threat affect you?" Ashley said, "I have been terrified. I have not slept. I love Rachel, but I am scared of what she might do." Claire cross-examined her. She said, "Ms. Brooks, you testified that your relationship with Mr. Coleman began 6 months ago. Is that correct?" Ashley said yes. Claire held up a photograph. She said, "Then can you explain this photo from the First Baptist Church picnic 18 months ago, which shows Mr. Coleman with his hand on your back in what appears to be an intimate gesture?" Ashley's smile flickered. She said, "We were just talking. Marcus is a friendly person." Claire held up another photograph. She said, "And this photo from March of this year, where you are holding a glass of champagne at a baby shower. If you are 5 months pregnant now, you would have been 2 months pregnant in March. Were you drinking alcohol while 2 months pregnant?" Ashley's face went pale. She said, "I did not know I was pregnant then." It was before I found out, Claire said. So you discovered your pregnancy after March, but you are claiming to be 5 months along now. The math does not add up, Ms. Brooks. Garrett jumped up. He said, "Objection. Counsel is badgering the witness." Judge Hartford said, "Sustained. Move on, Ms. Patterson." But the damage was done. Ashley looked shaken. For the first time, she did not look like an angel. She looked like a liar. Then it was my turn. I took the stand. My legs were trembling so badly I could barely walk. Garrett approached me like a shark circling blood. He said, "Mrs. Coleman, is it true that you have been diagnosed with anxiety disorder?" I said, "I take medication for anxiety. Yes." "After my mother died." He said, "And is it true that you have made threatening statements about Ms. Brooks?" I said, "I have never threatened anyone." He held up a piece of paper. He said, "Then can you explain this text message sent from your phone to Ms. Brooks that says, and I quote, 'I will destroy you for what you have done'?" I stared at the paper. I said, "I did not send that. I have never seen that message." Garrett said, "It came from your phone number, Mrs. Coleman. Are you saying your phone sent messages without your knowledge?" I said, "Marcus had my password. He had access to my phone. He could have sent it himself." Garrett laughed. He said, "So now your husband is sending threatening messages from your phone. Is there anything else you would like to blame him for?" I looked at Marcus. He was watching me with those cold, dead eyes. I said, "Those are not from me. They took everything. They turned everyone against me. My own father." I felt the tears coming. I could not stop them. I said, "She is smiling. Do you see that? She is smiling while I am—" I tried to stand up. The room started spinning. Black spots appeared in my vision. I said, "She winked at me. In my living room. At my daughter's talent show. Every time she wins, she—" The room tilted sideways. I heard Claire yelling my name, then everything went black. I woke up in a hospital bed. The fluorescent lights were too bright. Everything hurt. Donna was sitting in a chair next to me, clutching a styrofoam cup of coffee. She said, "Welcome back, honey." I tried to sit up. My head swam. I said, "What happened?" Donna said, "You passed out on the witness stand. Collapsed right there in front of everyone. Doctor says it was severe dehydration and stress. When was the last time you ate a real meal?" I could not remember. A doctor came in. His name tag said Dr. Robert Callahan. He said, "Mrs. Coleman, you experienced a syncope episode. Your blood pressure was dangerously low. You are dehydrated and malnourished. I understand you are going through a difficult time, but you cannot take care of your daughter if you do not take care of yourself." I said, "My daughter. I have to get back to court." Claire appeared in the doorway. She said, "Court is recessed. Judge Hartford granted a 72-hour continuance due to your medical emergency." I sank back against the pillows. I said, "What does that mean?" Claire sat down on the edge of the bed. She said, "It means we have 3 days. But Rachel, I have to be honest with you. Marcus's lawyer is filing a motion to have you declared mentally incompetent." Your collapse played right into their narrative. I stared at the ceiling. I said, "Maybe they are right. Maybe I am incompetent. Maybe I should just let them win." Donna stood up so fast her coffee splashed. She said, "Rachel Coleman, you listen to me. I have watched you photograph 800 weddings. You have seen people at their happiest, their messiest, their most vulnerable. You have seen marriages begin. You know what makes them last. And you know what Ewan and Marcus had? It was not a marriage. It was a hostage situation you were too nice to notice." She sat down on the bed and took my hand. She said, "You are not crazy. You are not incompetent. You are a woman who trusted the wrong people, and that is not a crime. That is being human." I said, "But we have nothing." Tommy backed out. "The photos might not be enough," Donna said. Then we find something else. You have 72 hours. What are you going to do with them? That night, I could not sleep. I kept scrolling through my phone, looking at old photos of Emma, her first day of school, her birthday parties, her gap-toothed smile. Then I saw a notification I had never noticed before. Google Drive. Automatic backup complete. 847 files uploaded from Studio Security Cam. I sat up in bed. Studio Security Cam. 2 years ago, there had been a break-in scare at my studio. Someone tried to jimmy the back door in the middle of the night. I had installed a cheap security camera system from Amazon. It was supposed to alert me to intruders, but I got so many false alarms from stray cats and passing cars that I turned off the notifications. But the camera had still been recording, and it had still been backing up to the cloud. I opened the folder with shaking hands, hundreds of hours of footage. Most of it was just the empty studio, me editing, clients picking up their photos. Then I found footage from 6 months ago, dated August 19th, 9:47 p.m. I pressed play. Marcus and Ashley walked into my studio. After hours. They did not know the camera was there. Marcus said, "The numbers look good. Rachel will not notice the transfers until it is too late." Ashley laughed. She said, "What about the pregnancy? You really think she will buy it?" Marcus said, "She will believe anything. She believed you were sorry about missing her birthday party. She believed your car broke down the night of her mom's memorial." Ashley said, "She believed I loved her. That is the sad part. She really thought we were sisters." She did a little twirl in the middle of my studio. She said, "I am going to turn this place into something useful. Maybe a wine bar or a yoga studio. Something Rachel would hate." Marcus said, "Focus. We need to make sure the forensic auditor sees the right numbers." Ashley walked toward the camera without knowing it was there. Her face filled the frame. She said, "Relax. I have got it all figured out." By the time she realizes what is happening, I will be Mrs. Coleman, and she will be explaining to a judge why she embezzled from her own company. They laughed together. Then Ashley said the words that would destroy them both. She said, "The best part? I am not even pregnant. I bought a bump on Amazon. $34.99. Best investment I ever made." I paused the video. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone. I called Claire. I said, "I found something. A video. From my studio security camera." They confessed everything. The fraud, the conspiracy, the fake pregnancy. All of it. There was a long silence. Claire said, "Can you send it to me right now?" I said, "Sending." Another silence while she watched. Then Claire said, "Rachel, this changes everything." 72 hours later, I walked back into Knox County Chancery Court. I had eaten 3 real meals. I had slept more than 4 hours. I was still terrified, but I was not broken anymore. Ashley was seated at the plaintiff's table in another white dress. Her baby bump looked even bigger than before. Her hand rested on it protectively. She looked at me as I walked past. She whispered, "Back for more?" "I thought they were shipping you to the psych ward." I stopped and looked at her. I said, "I hope you have a good lawyer. Ash, you are going to need one." For the first time since this nightmare began, I saw uncertainty in her eyes. Judge Hartford called the court to order. He said, "Ms. Patterson, I understand you have new evidence to present." Claire stood up. She said, "Yes, Your Honor. I would like to introduce Exhibit C." Garrett jumped to his feet. He said, "Objection. We have not seen this evidence. This is a clear violation of discovery rules." Claire said, "This is rebuttal evidence, Your Honor. It directly impeaches the testimony of both Mr. Coleman and Miss Brooks. It was only discovered during the 72-hour recess from a security camera that had been automatically backing up to cloud storage without my client's knowledge." Judge Hartford looked intrigued. He said, What kind of evidence are we talking about? Claire said. Video and audio footage that proves criminal conspiracy, fraud, and perjury. The courtroom went silent. Judge Hartford said, I will allow it. Let us see what you have, counselor. Claire connected her laptop to the courtroom's display screen. She said, Your Honor, this footage was recorded on August 19th of this year at my client's photography studio. Neither Mr. Coleman nor Miss Brooks knew the camera was there. She pressed play. The courtroom watched Marcus and Ashley walk into my studio. We heard them laugh about the transfers. We heard them discuss the fake pregnancy. We watched Ashley twirl in the middle of the room she planned to steal from me. And then Ashley's voice filled the courtroom. The best part? I am not even pregnant. I bought a bump on Amazon. $34.99. Best investment I ever made. The courtroom exploded. Ashley jumped to her feet. She screamed, That is fake. That is AI generated. Marcus, do something. Marcus was frozen in his seat. His face had gone white. The confident, charming bank manager had vanished. In his place was a man watching his entire world collapse. Judge Hartford banged his gavel. He said, Order. Order in this court. Miss Brooks, sit down immediately. Ashley kept screaming. She said, I am pregnant. I have doctor's notes. I have ultrasounds. Judge Hartford's voice was ice cold. He said, Then you will not mind submitting to a court-ordered medical examination right now, bailiff. Please contact the court physician. Ashley's face crumbled. The confident smirk, the angelic expression, the sympathetic tears, all of it melted away like wax in a fire. She turned to Marcus. She said, Tell them about the plan. Tell them it was your idea. Marcus's lawyer was already backing away from the table. Marcus said, Your Honor, I do not know what she is talking about. I have been manipulated. Ashley took advantage of my vulnerability during a difficult time in my marriage. Ashley spun toward him. She screamed, What? You liar! You came to me. You said we could have everything. The house, the business, Rachel's inheritance. You said we would be set for life. Marcus said, She is obviously unstable. I am a victim here. Ashley lunged across the table at him. She screamed, You ordered the bump. You ordered it while she was cooking dinner. You laughed about it. You said it was the perfect crime. The bailiffs grabbed her before she could reach Marcus. They pulled her back, but she kept screaming. She said, He cooked the books. He created the false evidence. I just did what he told me. It was all his idea. Judge Hartford banged his gavel repeatedly. He said, Order, order. Bailiff restrained Ms. Brooks. Ashley fought against the bailiffs. Her white dress was torn. Her perfect hair was a mess. She looked nothing like the angel who had walked into this courtroom. Claire stood up. She said, Your Honor, in light of this evidence, we move to dismiss all charges against Rachel Coleman. We also request that the court refer this matter to the district attorney for criminal prosecution of both Mr. Coleman and Miss Brooks for conspiracy, fraud, perjury, and filing false police reports. Judge Hartford did not hesitate. He said, Granted, and granted. The restraining order against Mrs. Coleman is vacated immediately. Emergency custody is transferred back to Mrs. Coleman, effective immediately. And bailiff, take Mr. Coleman and Mrs. Brooks into custody, pending arraignment. Two bailiffs approached Marcus. He did not fight. He just sat there, staring at the table, like he could not believe what was happening. As they handcuffed him, he looked at me for the first time. He said, Rachel, I did not let him finish. I said, Save it for your lawyer. The bailiffs led him away. Ashley was still screaming as they dragged her past me. Real tears now, not the fake ones she had cried on the witness stand. Ugly, terrified tears. As she passed, our eyes met. I did not wink. I did not smirk. I did not gloat. I just said, $34.99. That is what you thought my life was worth. She had no answer. For the first time since this nightmare began, my sister had nothing to say. I walked out of the courthouse, into the rain. Donna was waiting for me on the steps with an umbrella. She said, "Well, that was something." I said, "Is it really over?" She said, "The hard part is, the healing part is just beginning." A car pulled up to the curb. Pastor Whitfield got out. And in the back seat, pressing her face against the window, was Emma. My daughter burst out of the car before the pastor could stop her. She screamed, "Mom! Mom!" I dropped to my knees on the wet concrete and caught her in my arms. She was crying. I was crying. The rain was coming down so hard I could barely see. Emma said, "Is it over? Can I come home now?" I held her so tight I was afraid I might hurt her. I said, "It is over, baby. It is really over. We are going home." Over Emma's shoulder, I saw Donna wiping her eyes. Even Pastor Whitfield was blinking back tears. We went back to Donna's house that night. Emma fell asleep on the couch, with her head in my lap, exhausted from everything she had been through. I stroked her hair and watched her breathe and tried to remember what it felt like to be happy. Donna brought me a cup of tea. She said, "What happens now?" I said, "I do not know. I have to rebuild everything, the business, the house, our lives." Donna sat down next to me. She said, "You know what I have learned from 2 divorces?" I said, "What?" She said, "The life you rebuild is always better than the life you lost, because you build it knowing what you really need." 6 months later, Marcus was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison for fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy. He cried at the sentencing hearing. I did not feel sorry for him. Ashley received 5 years for perjury, filing false police reports, and conspiracy. She did not cry. She glared at me from the defendant's table, like she still could not believe she had lost. My father wrote me a letter. He apologized for everything, for believing Marcus, for testifying against me, for choosing the daughter who manipulated him over the daughter who had loved him her whole life. I read the letter. I put it in a drawer. Maybe someday I will be ready to forgive him, but not yet. I reopened Forever Frames Photography in a new location. Smaller than the old studio, but mine. The first wedding I shot after the trial was Donna's. She married a retired firefighter named Walter Jenkins, who she met at church. He cried during the vows. She laughed and told him to pull himself together. It was the most beautiful wedding I had ever photographed. I sold the house Marcus and I had shared. Too many memories, too many ghosts. I bought a smaller place closer to Donna, with a backyard big enough for the puppy Emma had been begging for. Emma named the puppy Justice. It chewed on everything. I did not care. Healing is not linear. Some days I am fine. Some days I cry in the grocery store because I see the wine Ashley used to drink. But every day, I choose myself. Every day, I choose my daughter. That is all any of us can do. 1 year after the trial, I was in my new studio, editing photos from a wedding. It was late. Emma was asleep on the couch behind me, Justice curled up at her feet. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. A voice said, "Rachel, this is Marcus." I froze. He said, "I am calling from the prison payphone. I only have 2 minutes. I just wanted to say, I am sorry. I know that does not mean anything. I know I destroyed everything, but I wanted you to know that before Ashley, before the money, before all of it, I did love you, I think. I do not know anymore. I do not know who I am." I listened to the silence on the line, the static of a payphone in a federal prison, the breathing of a man who had tried to destroy me. I said, "Marcus, I am going to say something, and then I am going to hang up. Are you listening?" He said, "Yes." I said, "I forgive you." Not for you, for me, for Emma. I am not going to carry your poison for the rest of my life. But Marcus, do not ever call this number again. I hung up. I looked at Emma sleeping on the couch, at the photos on my screen of a bride and groom, deliriously happy, no idea what the future holds. People ask me if I believe in happy endings anymore. I photograph them for a living. I have seen the tears, the vows, the promises. Here is what I have learned. Happy endings are not given. They are built. One choice at a time, one backup at a time, one good friend at a time. Ashley thought my life was worth $34.99. She was wrong. My life is priceless, and so is yours. If you are experiencing domestic abuse or financial manipulation, the National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-7233. Back up your files. Trust your gut. Find your Donna. And remember, sometimes the smile that thinks it has won is just one recording away from disappearing forever. Now I have a question for you. Which moment shocked you the most? Was it the Bluetooth message, the fake pregnancy reveal, or the moment Ashley and Marcus turned on each other in court? Drop your answer in the comments below. I read every single one. And if this story made you gasp, made you angry, or made you think about someone who needs to hear it, share it with them. You never know whose life you might change. If you are new here, welcome to our family. We tell stories that matter, stories of betrayal and justice, stories of people who refuse to give up. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss another one. And if you have been with us for a while, thank you. Your support means everything. Every like, every comment, every share helps us reach more people who need these stories. Until next time, stay sharp. Trust your gut. Back up your files. And remember, sometimes the person smiling at you is just one recording away from losing everything. Final disclaimer. This content was carefully researched, developed, and manually edited by our team to deliver meaningful lessons and real value to our audience. Every story we share is crafted with purpose, designed not just to entertain, but to educate, inspire, and empower you to protect yourself and the people you love. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of this community. See you in the next story.